Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Mac community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I want you to forget about Rupert Murdoch. I want you to forget about everybody that talks about being, the media guys. I want to introduce you to the real king of media, Mr. Don McAllister of ScreenCastsOnline. Don, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Hello, Chuck. Hi. It's nice to be back on again.
Yeah, Don, the last time that we talked, at least here, we talk frequently in other venues, but the last time we talked here to the audience, I think you were only doing ScreenCastsOnline, and then you had expanded SCO to include iOS apps.
Yeah.
And since then, you've been really busy.
The media empire is expanding. That's right.
It's very impressive. It's very impressive. Congratulations on all of it.
It's good fun. It's good fun. It's hard work. It's funny you say I was only doing ScreenCastsOnline because that's still, that's still the main thing, and I still do 2 shows of that a week. So sort of everything that's on top of that is sort of extra to try and fit in with my day job, which is ScreenCastsOnline.com. But yeah, lots of things have happened since we last spoken. Where to start? I mean, there's the apps. The whole thing around this is, and for people who don't know me, I actually produce video content. I produce 2 video tutorials each week, an iOS one and a Mac one. And currently, they're mainly distributed via a membership system. So people can sign up and become members, and they can get the content pushed out to them via RSS. So we use iTunes to deliver it, or they can download it, or they can stream it from the website. And that's been going great. I mean, I've been doing that since 2006 was when I went full time. But the whole thing about having, and it was based originally on a podcast, and the whole thing with podcasts, I know all the viewers and the listeners to this podcast understand completely what a podcast is, and are quite used to sort of consuming information and downloading information in a podcast. But to a lot of people, it's still a very strange thing, even 5 or 6 years later. It's still difficult for people to realize, well, they don't quite understand what a podcast is. So I initially thought, well, how else can I distribute this content? And and again, even if they do know what a podcast is, not everybody wants to have weekly content. People just want to perhaps just have one particular tutorial or just one particular subject. So the initial route I took was to create this range of apps for the Mac initially. They're all SCOtutor. So there's a range of apps now on the Mac App Store. And it's basically my video tutorials to certain themes or certain long tutorials wrapped up in a specific special wrapper. And so we did it on the Mac App Store. They were very successful. And then we did it on the iPad, and they were successful. And also the iPhone as well. So, we've got Mac apps and we've got iOS apps, which are universal and can work on both the Mac and also on the iPad and iPhone. And
that has not been exactly the smoothest trip. They were in the App Store for a while, and then you ran into some problems.
Yeah, we had a few issues with. The Mac App Store are fine. They've gone in there. They're fine. We've never had any particular issues with the Mac App Store, which might seem a bit strange because we've had lots of problems with the iOS App Store. The iTunes App Store. Initially, it was going back probably 3 or 4 months ago now that we just routinely submitted a new application for them to review and approve, and it got rejected. And the reason it got rejected was a new one. We'd had apps rejected before, but mainly on naming issues, to do with the Apple trademark. And I'll come on to that later on. But at that time, the new app was actually rejected because it was a video, which struck me as weird because, actually, they didn't say because it was a video. They said because it was a movie. And it was a brand new ruling as far as I was concerned. And I thought, well, there's a mistake, obviously, because, although they are video, they're not movies, they're not theatrical releases. But the ruling was, no, it's a movie and it belongs in the iTunes, with the other movies. Despite the fact there's, hundreds and hundreds of video tutorial apps on the App Store. So I just routinely queried it and sent it back in, and it got rejected again, and sort of it's really strange. So there's a formal appeal process. So I went through the formal appeal process, and unfortunately it wasn't successful. And they, in fact, they did turn around and say, well, actually, no, and we'll actually pull all your other apps off the App Store as well because we deem them to be movies as well. So it was quite worrying, really, that they should do that. But it's fine, it's their App Store. If that's the ruling, that's the ruling. But the thing that really upset me was the fact that all the other video tutorial apps were still in the App Store. And to this day, I don't know of any other apps that were actually pulled from the store because they were video content. And some of the really popular ones, like Netflix app is a video, is an application that's full of proper movies. But anyway, I appealed again, and that got rejected. And then I actually did write a letter because I'd sort of reached the end. Then I said, right, that's it. I'm not wasting any more time. And I sent a letter to Phil Schiller and also to Tim Cook, and not expecting really to hear anything back. And that about a week later, and I'm not saying this is linked. This might be completely, about a week later, I got another call from Apple. In fact, I got two calls. I got one on one day saying, no, I'm sorry, we're sticking by the ruling, and your apps can't be reintroduced. And then the next day, they'd reviewed it again and decided that they would actually let them in. So whether or not that open letter is connected, or obviously they probably didn't get involved personally, but they probably got passed down the chain and people realized that it was a bit silly. But unfortunately, so 2 of the apps are back in, but unfortunately the other 5 apps are still not in because they've got Apple trademarks in the name. The video tutorial is about Apple products, so I have to include the Apple name in the actual product name. So I'm afraid they're back in under appeal to try and get them reinstated. So it's still not completely finished, but sort of confident they'll get back in. Well, by hook or by crook, I'll have them all back in one day.
Don, now that you've been sort of you personally have been at the sharp end of the stick of this approval process, do you think it's fair? Do you think it makes sense? I mean, sitting here listening to it, it seems a little silly. If you are making a tutorial about, say, iMovie, of course you're going to have iMovie in the title. You're not going to have that, a tutorial about that video application from that fruit company. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, they have rules and they have regulations, but I think the difficulty is, and I think the difficulty that most people have is the inconsistency. They don't apply those rules consistently, and that might be because I have no idea how big the review team is. Whether or not there's a high churn of people going through the review team. And one person's interpretation of one rule might be different to another person's interpretation of that rule. I mean, I'm all for them having rules and applying rules, but they really need to do it consistently. And I think that's the bit that's missing at the moment. And to use some common sense as well. I mean, you can find a rule which is, if you look at it in the plain light of day, yes. But, common sense would say, well, actually, we understand the ruling, but in this particular instance, we need to make an exception. And to be fair to them, they have done that in the past. It's just that unfortunately I've hit my head up against this naming thing again, which hopefully will get resolved soon.
Just sitting here thinking about it, because you brought up the Netflix app, Don, is the video actually stored within these apps, or are you reaching out to the web to pull the video in through
those particular apps? No, it is embedded within the app. Because I wanted it to be an offline thing as well. Where people, if they download it to their iPad, invariably they want to watch these tutorials when they're traveling or when they're away from home or something. So, although I could set it up to be streaming, and there are other ways to stream the content as well, which we'll get onto later about the magazine. But no, the apps themselves are completely self-contained, so that people can watch them anywhere at any time.
So, what is in the App Store now, and what do you have that you're working on to get in the App Store?
Well, on the iOS App Store, there are 2 titles at the minute. There is the SCOtutor for ScreenFlow, which is the editing package that I use, and also SCOtutor for Mountain Lion. That's a relatively new one. That just came out a couple of weeks ago, and that was approved without any hassle. And, of course, Mountain Lion is, it's an Apple product, and that's in the name. Again, inconsistencies all over the place. But they're both in there, so, people can go ahead and have a look at those. In the Mac App Store, there's about 6 or 7, including the Mac, all about the iPad, all about Lion, the ScreenFlow again, iPhoto for iOS. There's a whole range of sort of specific topics that are quite general. And what I've done in some of them, like, for instance, the Mountain Lion one, Mountain Lion isn't in the Mac App Store yet. That's still under review. They seem to take longer to review the Mac apps than they do the iOS apps at the moment. But that's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours worth of content that I've generated over the past couple of months, all to do with Mountain Lion, squished into a separate package and available separately. So, but they can just go, if they go to the ScreenCastsOnline.com website, there's a little button in the header, and click on it, it'll take them to a page which tells everybody all about the different applications and where they're available.
Now, just to be clear, under the heading of full disclosure, this is the same content that you've released on Screencasts Online, just repurposed, repackaged, maybe
yeah. It was a conscious decision I made because I didn't really. I mean, people do pay to be members, and my paying members do get all the content that I produce. So it wasn't really a play to sort of get more money out of the membership or anything like that. It was very much this is the content that I produce as part of the membership. But there are people who don't want a full membership. So if you don't, you can actually go across to the App Store and cherry pick the particular tutorials that you want. Now, obviously, not everything is on the App Store. The members still get everything, 2 shows a week. But the App Store ones are very much specific topics that people might have more of a general interest in.
When you first started the SCOtutor apps, I didn't get it, and as I've watched you develop them, it now makes perfect sense, because you and I had conversation a long time ago about the desire for some people to just purchase 1 or 2 shows individually, and that really didn't fit with your model. It was sort of an all or nothing. So this is a nice middle ground for people interested in the major topics.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I still get the occasional request to do individual episodes. An episode is around about 30 minutes for the Mac and about 15 minutes for the iOS show. But it doesn't really, I did try it once, and the take-up wasn't that good, and it's more hassle than it's worth, to be honest. But if there's a major topic, it's certainly worth doing separately. And I should mention as well that on the App Store, they're not all for payment. They're not all, you have to pay for everything. There are two apps on there that are completely free that people can download. There's the introduction to the iPad, which again is about 1 hour and 3/4. I think people can download that for free, and also an introduction to the Mac as well, which is for new Mac users, and that's completely free as well. That's about 2 hours worth of content. So it's not just paid for apps that are on the App Store. I do include free content on there as well, and those 2 particular ones are very much aimed at brand new users. And I'm not being completely altruistic. Obviously, if someone's brand new to the Mac or the iPad and they download those for free and they like the content, I'm hoping that they will come across to the site or buy some of the other apps. But they are free, and they do get quite high in the charts now and again, actually.
That's great. That's great. Well, anyone who has seen any of your videos knows the kind of quality and detail and your approach to the apps. So this is a great thing. And I frequently tell folks that if you're new to the Mac, or if you're new to this particular program or that, this is the first place you want to go, because you will actually get to see someone who's a real user, who isn't just reading a manual somewhere and showing you everything that's in the manual. It makes a big difference. Yeah,
the good thing with the iPad and the Mac SCOtutor apps is that they are aimed at beginners. So a lot of people, if they've got relatives who get a new Mac or a new iPad, they just send them to there and say, download this and watch this first, then come back to me with any problems. And it's a great sort of, introduction to using the Mac and the iPad. That's one of the things that's a little bit annoying at the moment on iOS, in that the iPad app isn't currently available on iOS, so people can't download that. And I get so many emails each week, because people have seen it and they know it's been there. But, where's the iPad app? Because, they've got, the granny's got an iPad now, and they want to give them the app so that they can actually, learn how to use the iPad. And that's been the most annoying thing, really, because I know there are all these people that could download the free app and they can't at the minute because it's not available.
Yeah. Well, some things are just beyond your control, unfortunately.
Indeed.
So, since you didn't have anything else to do, you decided to go out and start, of all things, a magazine.
Yeah.
Are you just a glutton for punishment, Don?
Well, I was in WWDC 2 years ago when they first announced Newsstand on the iPad. And I thought at the time, because I actually went along to the session in WWDC to learn more about Newsstand, and it sounded fantastic. It sounded perfect. It was exactly what I was sort of doing on the membership side. Because, and again, when we're describing podcasts, when we describe it to lay people who don't understand what a podcast is, we use the analogy of a magazine. You subscribe to the podcast and then we push out this content to you. And it's just that with a podcast, you use iTunes to download it. Well, Newsstand is the same, but it is actually a magazine. So you can produce this content, people can subscribe, and you push it out automatically, and it arrives in Newsstand as a physical representation of a magazine. And I thought, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I want. But Newsstand itself, the magazines within Newsstand are actually apps, the specific iOS apps for the individual magazines that are published. And at the time, I'm not a developer, and the sessions I went to were a little bit over my head, and I thought, well, yeah, it's a great idea, but you really need some serious programming chops to be able to create one of these magazines. And I just didn't have that at the time. I still don't, to be honest. But a couple of months ago, I met a guy over in LA when we were at Blogworld, a guy called Ed Dale. And Ed, along with a partner of his, has developed a platform called MagCast, which basically takes away all the technology. They handle all the technology, and I just produce the content. We're using this MacCast platform. I quite simply create a new PDF every month, and within the magazine is not just my videos. I do embed, the previous month's worth of videos in there, but also articles from Katie and David Sparks, some of our good friends. They've contributed articles every month, so it is like a proper magazine with articles, hints, and tips, and my videos embedded. And then I just do some nothing too demanding or technical to process the magazine, hand it across to the MacCast platform, and that does all the publishing and works all the magic, and suddenly it appears on people's iPads. It's a really cool technology.
So, Don, I have to ask, there are a lot of things I want to know about this, and your thinking behind this. You have a blog, obviously.
Yeah.
You have a weekly newsletter, just to maybe make it even more fleshed out as to just how much of a media kingpin you are. What appealed to you about this particular kind of thing? Because you are competing with, and I mean that in a very friendly way, but you're competing with a lot of other producers of similar content, and this time you're sort of moving into their medium as opposed to what has been called new media podcasts and audio podcasts and all that. Why go this route?
Well, again, the thinking behind it was down to the membership side of things. And I mentioned before, the reason I introduced the SCOtutor apps was that not everybody wants to have a weekly membership and deliver and receive 2 shows every week. It's just too much. It's information overload for them. What I've found with the magazine is that because it only comes out once a month, there's the same amount of content, but people can dip in and dip out. They don't feel pressured to watch a show every week to get the most out of the membership. It's actually cheaper as well. It's a cheaper way of actually getting the content because you can subscribe separately to the magazine. Well, I'll explain how that works. You can either you can either buy an individual episode or an individual issue of the magazine and just get that 1 month's worth of content. So, one single payment, download the magazine and consume all the content at your leisure. All the videos are streamable, so you can't keep the videos, but you can keep the magazine, obviously. Or you can subscribe to the magazine. So there's like a 6-monthly subscription or an annual subscription. Again, the same rules apply. The nice thing with Newsstand is when a new edition is published, it just appears on your iPad. And because all the videos are streamable, it's not huge, so it's very quick to download, and then you just watch the videos at your leisure. If you're a Screencast Online member, I've actually given all the members a complimentary subscription to the magazine, so they get that as well as like a value add. It doesn't cost them any extra. So there's sort of different tiers now. There's sort of like the full membership, or there's a light membership, which is just the magazine subscription. And it's sort of, hopefully it will appeal to all sorts of people's budgets and different ways of consuming the content as well. So it's a nice spread of different ways to actually get the video tutorials.
So let me see if I have it right. So let's say you produce a video on mountain lion for SCO, and I'm not an SCO subscriber, so I don't have access to it. If I subscribe to the magazine, then I get streaming access to that video.
That's right. So, for instance, the last month, or rather this month's episode has got 2 videos about mountain lion. So it's got like mountain lion parts 1 and 2. And in next month will be parts 3 and 4. So, and each one's about half an hour long. So that's 2 hours of content. There are other videos as well to do with iOS. So it's a mixture of videos. But yeah, if you subscribe, if you just wanted to see what it was like, you could actually just get this month's magazine, see those 2 tutorials. And if you wanted next month's, you could buy that magazine separately. If you do subscribe, actually, you get a month free anyway. So, people can actually go and download the app for free and then just subscribe and then cancel the subscription if they just want to try it out. There's also a free sampler episode in there. It doesn't include, I don't think the sampler includes mountain lion stuff, but there is a sampler there that people can download, just to try out the particular format. But the thing that surprised me is that, and I have to be honest with you here, that what I didn't want to do is create a magazine that was just purely video content. One, because it seems a bit of an abuse of the system. But also, I don't think Apple would take kindly to that because they do want them to be, magazines. So I sort of reached out to friends and colleagues for contributions, and it came back, and had a great time putting it all together. And people really, really enjoy the written stuff as well as the videos. It's a really nice mixture. It's interactive as well. So obviously the videos, you can blow them up full screen, you can watch the videos, you can stop and start them. But if you don't want to watch a video, you can read some of the articles. And just sort of having that on the iPad in its format, because I've sort of made it especially. It's not like some of the print magazines are just PDF facsimiles of a print magazine, and they're not interactive, and they're quite small typeface. So you've got to zoom in and zoom out. I sort of designed the layout so that it was sort of formatted for the iPad, so it's very easy to read. You can swipe through the pages. There's no sort of really obvious sort of page turns and things. You basically just swipe your way through the magazine and read the different sections. There are links embedded in there as well, so they can jump out to articles on the web. There's also in-store links as well. So if there's an application that you want, you can just tap on a button. It'll take you to the store, and you can buy the app that way. If it's a review on a particular app or a video on an app. So it's just a really nice way of, and I've been really surprised how well it's been received, because people really do seem to have taken to it.
It's still surprising. We think of ourselves in a media-rich world, but there's a lot to be said for the printed word. And I don't know any other phrase, because we no longer have it printed on paper, but it's printed on screen. So I was really interested that you took this approach. And just to take the analogy too, I want to do this, to take the analogy a little farther. If you don't want to subscribe to SCO, if you don't want to subscribe to the magazine, then you can wait, hopefully, not pretty quickly, for an SCOtutor edition of the Mountain Lion to arrive. Now that'll take a little longer, and as we said earlier, there are a few issues with that. So basically, you have 3 different channels that people can access your video content.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the Mountain Lion one you can get now on the iPad, an SCOtutor. It's the Mac ones that I'm still waiting for the review to be completed on, but hopefully that will be in the next week or two. But yeah, so there's 3 different options really. There's sort of most bases are covered, depending on what the customer, how they want to consume the particular media. Obviously, the best value and to get everything is the membership on the ScreenCastsOnline website. But separate apps or just the magazine subscription, you get similar content.
Don, so what's next? Don McAllister merchandising? I mean,
No. I think that's probably going to be it for a little while. There are. I've got some plans for. Again, we're at the very early stages, but if members want to access the membership content, I think that we're missing an app for a members app, in effect, to actually access the website or to download content. So we've got some plans, although that's a little bit far off, for like a members app to log on to the website via the app and access the stuff that they've subscribed to that way. But that's probably going to be in the new year. I'm currently up to my eyes in preparing for MacMania. I've got another MacMania cruise coming up in November. So, and I've got tons of sessions to prepare for that. So that's wiped me out. That, and also being away for 3 weeks has wiped me out for the next couple of months, because obviously, I've got to prepare for the sessions, and I've got to prepare all the content that I need to deliver while I'm away, and the magazine, etc. So, fairly busy leading up to Christmas. But it's all good fun.
And we will see you, of course, at Macworld iWorld in San Francisco.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, definitely.
Good.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I want to circle back just for a second, because I think this is something that all of us who create content are examining and thinking about and trying to figure out is, and you're doing such a great job of it. You're trying to engage the audience in any way that the audience wants to be engaged. Instead of saying, okay, I produce videos, so therefore you have to look at me in video or video podcast, or I like a magazine, so you have to engage me in the magazine format. You're really spreading yourself across, and that's admirable. It also is a huge strain on you. And I mean, realistically, can you keep this up? And I'm dead serious about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to bear in mind that, the core thing is the 2 shows a week. I mean, that's what everything stems from. And because I'm not doing content specifically for the magazine or specifically for the apps, I'm generating content specifically to deliver 2 shows a week. So that's the main focus. And I'm quite comfortable with that now, because I've sort of streamlined the production process. And as I do more and more video tutorials, obviously I'm sort of getting quicker. There's no shortage of subject matter, so that's great. So, as long as I can hit my milestones for being regular and producing those shows every week, that's fine. The apps, the framework is already developed, so it's not really that big a deal to actually create a new app. I basically just take my content and drop it into the app and press a few buttons and do a bit of jiggery pokery, and it spits the app out at the end. So again, that's not too difficult. And I'm not doing like an app a week. it's very much when there's a major topic that I think is suitable for an app. And then the magazine last month, I mean, this MagCast platform takes away a lot of the work as well. All the publishing side of it's handled automatically by that. So it's really probably 2 days a week, 3 days a week to actually produce the magazine. A month to produce the monthly magazine and get that published. In fact, I'll be doing a screencast in about probably 2 or 3 weeks where I'll show people the process behind how the magazine is created and what the MagCast platform looks like. And so that will give people a better idea, because people are always interested to see, the production process, sort of a peek behind the scenes, behind the curtains of what happens here. But no, it's still manageable. But I wouldn't like to take on any additional projects, at least for the next few months, that is. But no, I've sort of got it so that it's a nice, smooth workflow. A bit busy at the moment. We're having MacMania, but once that's out of the way and things settle down, it should be okay.
That's terrific. Well, I'm very serious. Congratulations on everything you've done here. I mean, this is a pretty impressive workload for one guy to put out, and the thing that makes it the most impressive is the quality. Because every episode, in my opinion, is a must-watch. Even if you think you know the app, let Don walk you through it. You're bound to find a few tricks that you may not have known.
Yeah, well, I enjoy doing that. And I like sort of exposing and bringing sort of new things to people. Of course, we've got iOS 6 coming up, so I'm going to have to put together a few shows for iOS 6. And, the Apple keeps producing all this fantastic stuff. And although a lot of the time it is simple stuff, there's always hidden depths to it. And that's what I try to bring out, some of the hidden depths and not just of the Apple software, but also of, third-party software, because the third-party side of it is really, there's not really that many people covering third-party applications, unless the developers themselves, commission tutorials from various people. It's very difficult to get a new third-party app and understand how it works. And that's just like a little niche that I've sort of carved out, whereby, I'm more than happy to take that on and produce that for Screencasts Online.
Don, give us all the URLs, just to be sure. We have ScreenCastsOnline.com.
Yeah, that's probably the best place to go, because you'll find links to both the magazine and also to the applications on there as well. But if you want to get directly to the apps, if you just go to any of the stores and search for Screencasts Online or SCOtutor, you'll find all the apps. If you want to check out the magazine, just go to the iTunes store and check out Screencasts Online Monthly, and that will pop up for you. As I say, the app itself, the magazine app is free, and there's a free sampler episode. And if you do subscribe, you can actually get a month free as well if you subscribe. And then if you want to, cancel the subscription if you don't like it. But or you can buy an individual episode as well. It's entirely down to people's choice.
Well, I'll try to have links to all of the apps as they exist in the stores right now in the show notes to make it even easier. But definitely go check out Don at Screencasts Online and any of the things we've talked about. You will not be disappointed. Don, I really appreciate the time. Have a great MacMania. I guess we probably won't get to chat before that.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Maybe so.
Oh, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see you in San Francisco.
Indeed. Yeah, look forward to seeing you then.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Don McAllister of Screencasts Online. Again, check the show notes. I'll have everything in there that you need to link to, so you can catch up with him at least until his next project comes out. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for listening. MacVoicesTV is part of the MacVoices Group at MacVoicesGroup.com. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com.